always believed that after all these years, after the heartbreaks, the raising of a daughter on my own, the silent evenings filled only with the sound of my breathing, my heart had learned its lessons. That the foolish, desperate beats of youth had quieted for good. I was wrong. The day Lily brought Milo home was an ordinary Saturday. The kind that smelled like fresh coffee and lemon-scented cleaning spray. I was wiping down the kitchen counters when I heard the front door swing open. Her voice floating in, sweet and excited. "Mom, we're here." I dried my hands quickly and turned toward the entryway just as they appeared. Lily radiant as always, her sun-kissed hair tumbling in waves down her back, her smile easy and bright. And beside her, Milo. It's strange how certain moments brand themselves into you, like a photograph that never quite fades. The first thing I noticed about him was how startlingly familiar he looked. The careless tousle of dark hair, the sharpness in his jawline, the slight dimple that appeared when he smiled. He could have been a ghost from my past. He could have been Daniel. For a breathless second, I was 18 again, standing on the cracked sidewalk outside my parents' house, watching Daniel walk away without ever looking back. I felt the memory claw at my chest, sharp and sudden. But then Milo's hand was reaching out toward me. His smile so earnest, and the present snapped me back like a stretched rubber band. "Hi, Mrs. Bennet," he said, voice warm and slightly husky. "I'm Milo. It's really nice to finally meet you." I shook his hand, feeling the strength in his grip, the warmth of his skin. "Caroline," I corrected automatically. "Please. Mrs. Bennet makes me sound like my mother." He laughed, and the sound wrapped around me, disarming and genuine. As they settled in, Lily chattering about how they met in environmental science class, how he helped her study for their midterm, I busied myself arranging glasses on the table. I tried not to stare. I tried not to notice the way Milo's eyes lingered sometimes, the way he watched me when he thought I wasn't looking. It was harmless, I told myself. I was imagining things. Wishful thinking from a heart that hadn't been stirred in far too long. The following days blurred into a slow, dangerous rhythm. Milo became a fixture around the house, always dropping by after his classes, or staying late when Lily begged him to help her review flashcards. I told myself I didn't mind. Lily was happy, glowing in a way I hadn't seen in years, and that was enough. But it wasn't enough. There were moments, small and treacherous, when I would find myself alone with him. Milo would flash a quick grin, or make some offhand compliment about my cooking, or my hair, or the way I laughed. Always innocent, always easy to dismiss. Yet each comment burrowed deeper, unsettling something dormant inside me. One afternoon, as I watered the geraniums on the back porch, he appeared behind me, his voice low and warm. "You know," he said, "you really don't look old enough to be Lily's mom." I turned, laughing a little too sharply. "Flatterer." He shrugged, leaning lazily against the doorframe, sunlight painting his figure in soft gold. "Just telling the truth." I looked away quickly, my cheeks burning. It was absurd. I was 48 years old, for God's sake. He was Lily's boyfriend. Yet, the feelings that unfurled inside me were sharp and bright and dangerous. Lily didn't notice. How could she? She trusted me. She trusted both of us. She was the one who suggested we all go to the beach bar next weekend. "It'll be fun, Mom," she said, twirling a loose strand of hair around her finger. "You can be our designated driver. Plus, you never go out anymore." Milo chimed in from the kitchen, raising his beer in mock salute. "We'll behave. Promise." I smiled tightly, my heart thudding in my chest. The thought of being trapped in a car with them, of spending a whole day under the unforgiving sun, of trying to hide the way my body reacted to every stray glance, every brush of Milo's hand. It felt like a challenge I wasn't sure I could survive. The day of the beach trip dawned bright and unbearably hot. I wore a simple sundress, something modest and forgettable, but the moment Milo saw me, his eyebrows lifted slightly. His mouth curving into a smile he tried to hide behind his cup of coffee. "You look great, Caroline," he said quietly, while Lily rummaged through her bag looking for sunscreen. I mumbled a thanks, focusing fiercely on the coffee maker, on anything but the way he was looking at me. The drive to the beach was a torturous blend of laughter, teasing, and moments where I could feel Milo's gaze burning into the side of my face. At the bar, with the ocean just beyond, shimmering and endless, I let Lily and Milo dance in the sand while I sat at a table, nursing a lemonade and trying to remind myself of all the reasons this was impossible. Immoral. Forbidden. Still, when Milo finally came to sit beside me, his shirt clinging damply to his chest. His smile slow and knowing. I felt the crack forming in the fragile wall I had built around myself. "You look like you're a million miles away," he said. His voice low so Lily couldn't hear. "Maybe I am," I answered, forcing a lightness I didn't feel. He leaned closer, and I could smell the salt on his skin, the sun-warmed cotton of his shirt. "I hope not," he murmured. "I'd rather have you here." I stared straight ahead, too afraid to look at him, too afraid of what he might see in my eyes. And in that moment I knew. No matter how hard I tried, I was already lost. The days that followed the beach trip felt like walking a tightrope stretched thin across a chasm. I threw myself into busy work, cleaning closets that didn't need cleaning, reorganizing the pantry until every label faced forward. I told myself it was necessary, but deep down, I knew I was just trying to outrun the pounding of my own heart. Didn't work. Milo's presence lingered, even when he wasn't around. A phantom scent of sun and sea salt. The echo of his laughter from the passenger seat. The memory of the way his hand had brushed mine under the table, a touch so brief it could have been accidental, if not for the way his fingers had curled, as if unwilling to let go. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself everything. One evening, a few days later, Lily bounded into the kitchen, her cheeks flushed with excitement. "Mom, I almost forgot. Can you drive me and Milo to the party at Jordan's house tonight? It's kind of far and we don't want to Uber." Before I could answer, Milo walked in, flipping his car keys through his fingers. He caught my eye and grinned, an easy boyish grin that made something ache inside me. "Unless you'd rather we took your car," he offered. His gaze lingering just a moment too long. I forced a smile. "Of course I'll drive you." What choice did I have? The drive there was filled with Lily's chatter, the easy banter between her and Milo, the occasional song blasting from the radio. I stayed silent, hands tight on the steering wheel, my eyes locked on the darkening road. But I felt it. Milo's gaze sliding over me when Lily wasn't looking. Felt it like a heat against my skin, a silent pull that left me trembling. When we finally pulled up to the house, Lily leaned forward from the back seat and kissed my cheek. "Thanks, Mom. Love you." "Love you too, sweetie," I managed to say, my voice steady only by sheer willpower. Milo hesitated as he climbed out, pausing by the open car door. His hand brushed my shoulder lightly, deliberately, as he leaned in to whisper, "Save me a dance next time." And then he was gone, following Lily up the walk, leaving me staring after them with my heart pounding so hard it drowned out the music pouring from the house. It was worse when they weren't home. The house felt empty and too big, each creak of the floorboards a reminder of how desperately I was trying not to feel anything at all. But it was a losing battle. The more I pushed Milo out of my mind, the more insistent he became in my thoughts. It wasn't just the way he looked, though God knew that was enough to undo me. It was the way he listened when I spoke, as if my words mattered. It was the way he made me laugh at things I hadn't laughed at in years. It was the way he looked at me, not with pity, not with indifference, but with a raw, open admiration that left me breathless. I hadn't been seen like that in a very long time. The night everything shifted, Lily had decided to make cocktails. "We're going to have a mini beach party in the backyard," she announced, tossing a bag of limes on the counter. "Milo's bringing the music, and I'm making margaritas." I laughed, caught up in her excitement despite myself. "Sounds like a plan." She frowned suddenly, rummaging through the cabinets. "Ugh, I forgot the syrup. I'll have to run to the store. I'll be back in 20 minutes. Before I could protest, she was out the door, her flip-flops slapping against the concrete. And just like that, Milo and I were alone. I wiped my hands on a dish towel, trying to keep myself busy, to ignore the thick silence settling between us. But then I felt him behind me, close enough that I could sense the warmth of his body. "You always look beautiful," he said, voice low. I froze, the towel slipping from my fingers. "Milo," I whispered, not trusting myself to say more. "I mean it," he said, stepping closer. His hand brushed my arm, featherlight. "You have no idea how long I've wanted to tell you." I turned then, slowly, and found him watching me with an intensity that made it impossible to breathe. "This isn't right," I said, my voice breaking. "I know," he murmured. "But that doesn't change how I feel." His hand cupped my cheek then, so tenderly it nearly undid me. And before I could think, before I could stop myself, I leaned into him. Just for a moment. just to feel what it was like to be wanted again. Our lips met, soft and hesitant at first, a whisper of a kiss that deepened when neither of us pulled away. His arms slid around me, holding me as if I were something precious, something he couldn't bear to lose. I don't know how long we stayed like that. Seconds, minutes, an eternity. But it was enough. Enough to know that if we didn't stop now, we never would. I tore myself away, stumbling back, my heart shattering inside my chest. I can't, I gasped. I can't do this to Lily. Milo's face crumpled in pain, but he nodded slowly, his hands falling to his sides. I'm sorry, he said. I couldn't hide it anymore. I turned away before he could see the tears blurring my vision. Neither of us spoke again that night. When Lily returned, laughing and sun-drenched, we smiled and sipped our cocktails under the fairy lights she had strung across the yard. We danced and sang along to old songs. We were a family again, at least on the surface. But underneath, everything had already changed. It happened 2 nights later. I was folding laundry in the living room when I heard the front door open with a loud, trembling bang. Lily's voice, broken and small, echoed through the hallway. Mom! I rushed toward her, my heart leaping into my throat. She stood there, framed by the doorway, her cheeks streaked with tears, her eyes wide with devastation. He left me, she whispered. For a moment I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. What happened? I asked gently, reaching for her, pulling her into my arms. She collapsed against me, sobbing so hard I thought it might tear her apart. Milo. He said it wasn't working, that he needed time to figure himself out, that he didn't want a relationship anymore. I closed my eyes, holding her tighter. I knew the truth, even if she didn't. I knew exactly why he had left. Because he couldn't be near me without it tearing him apart. Because he couldn't love Lily the way he had come to love me. The guilt settled in my chest like a stone, heavy and immovable. I stroked Lily's hair, whispering soothing words I barely heard myself say. She was my daughter, my beautiful, trusting daughter. I had raised her alone, through every scraped knee and broken heart, and now I was the one who had betrayed her, even if she didn't know it yet. I'm so sorry, baby, I whispered against her hair, my throat tight with tears. I don't get it, she cried. I thought he loved me. Had no answers. None that I could give. All I could do was hold her and try not to shatter under the weight of what I had done. In the days that followed, the house fell into a hushed, fragile rhythm. Lily stayed mostly in her room, emerging only for meals, her smiles brittle, her laughter forced. I stayed busy. Too busy. I scrubbed the kitchen until my hands ached, organized the linen closet, repainted the chipped banister. Anything to keep from thinking. Anything to keep from feeling. But even the endless tasks couldn't keep him out of my mind. Milo with his earnest eyes and reckless smile. Milo who had seen me. Who had wanted me. Milo who had left my daughter in tears because he couldn't deny what was between us. The guilt gnawed at me, a constant, hollow ache. I thought that was the end of it. That Milo would move on, that I would bury my feelings the way I had buried so many others before. That eventually, this would all fade into a painful, shameful memory. But then one night my phone buzzed on the nightstand. And there it was. A single text message that made my heart stutter and my breath catch. Milo. Can we meet? I can't stop thinking about you. I stared at the screen, my hand trembling. This was the moment I had feared. The moment I had dreamed of. The moment I had dreaded. I should have deleted the message. I should have thrown the phone across the room, turned off the lights, and buried myself under the covers. Instead, I typed back before I could even think. Me. Where? We met at a small coffee shop 2 towns over, where no one would know us, no one would ask questions. The place was nearly empty, the lights dim, the air thick with the scent of roasted beans and cinnamon. When Milo walked in, wearing a plain gray hoodie and jeans, his hair slightly tousled, my heart gave a painful, traitorous leap. He spotted me immediately and crossed the room in quick, desperate strides. We didn't speak at first. We just stood there, staring at each other across the small distance that felt suddenly impossible to bridge. Finally, he broke the silence. I'm sorry, he said, his voice low and rough. I never wanted to hurt her. I swear. I nodded, unable to trust myself to speak. I tried to stay away, he continued, running a hand through his hair. I tried to forget. But I can't. I don't want to. He stepped closer, close enough that I could see the pain etched into every line of his face. "I want you, Caroline," he whispered. "I don't care how wrong it is. I want you." Tears blurred my vision. I should have told him to leave. I should have stood up and walked away. But instead, I reached for him, my hands trembling as they found his. And in that moment, all the guilt, all the fear, all the years of loneliness crumbled away, leaving only the wild, aching truth between us. I wanted him too, with everything I had left inside me. We sat in the quiet corner of the shop, our hands hidden beneath the table, our knees brushing in secret touches. We talked, really talked, for the first time without walls, without lies. About everything we had been hiding. About everything we could never say out loud. And when we finally left, slipping into the cool night air, we both knew. This wasn't over. It was only the beginning. Back at home, in the dark solitude of my bedroom, I stared up at the ceiling and let the weight of it all settle over me. The secret we now shared. The dangerous, impossible love blooming between us. I had crossed a line I could never uncross. And I didn't know how long we could walk that line before the world we knew came crashing down. But tonight, none of that mattered. Tonight, there was only the fire he had lit inside me. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't want to put it out. The secret bound us tighter than any promise ever could. Milo and I became careful, cautious architects of stolen moments. Every glance, every touch, every whispered word was a thread in the fragile tapestry we wove behind Lily's back. It wasn't easy. Every time Lily smiled at me, trusting, unguarded, my heart fractured a little more. But the guilt no longer outweighed the longing. It merely sat beside it, a quiet, aching companion. We were careful, so careful. When Lily was home, we played our roles perfectly. Friends, almost strangers. Milo would barely meet my eyes. I would smile and make dinner, talk about the weather, ask about her classes. We lived in a house built on unspoken truths. But when we were alone, the world changed. Started small. A brush of fingertips across mine when Lily turned her back. A note slipped into my coat pocket. "I miss you." A kiss pressed hurriedly into my hair when no one was looking. Then came the nights. Milo found reasons to linger after Lily had gone to bed. Helping with the dishes, fixing a crooked picture frame, pretending to leave only to slip back inside the house when the lights were off. Those were the moments I lived for. The stolen, breathless hours when he would find me in the darkened living room, when I would feel his arms around me, strong and trembling with everything he was trying not to say. "Caroline," he would whisper against my neck, his voice thick with need and wonder. "I've never felt anything like this before." Neither had I. It wasn't just physical, though the physical pull between us was impossible to deny. It was the way he looked at me, really looked at me, as if I were something precious, something worthy. It was the way he listened when I spoke about my fears, my loneliness, my past, the pieces of me I had long buried because no one had ever cared enough to ask. It was the way he made me feel young again, alive. We spent hours talking in hushed voices, curled up on the old worn couch, the glow from the fireplace casting soft shadows across his face. He told me about his dreams, his fears, the childhood he barely spoke of even to Lily. He traced the lines on my palms like they were a map to a secret place only he could find. "You're everything I never knew I needed," he said once, his forehead resting against mine. And I believed him. In those moments, I almost forgot the weight of what we were risking. Almost. The fear was always there, though lurking just beneath the surface. One wrong move, one careless touch, and everything would unravel. Sometimes in the dead of night, lying tangled in the sheets still warm from his body, I would stare at the ceiling and wonder what would happen when the truth came out. 'Cause it would. Secrets like ours were never meant to stay hidden forever. Would Lily hate me? Would she see it as the betrayal it truly was? Could I ever forgive myself? Milo would sense my spiraling thoughts and pull me closer, his arms a fortress against the fear. "We'll figure it out," he'd whisper. "I'm not letting you go." But some nights, I wasn't sure that love would be enough to save us. One evening, as we sat together in the backyard under the stars, Milo turned to me, his expression serious. "I don't want to hide anymore," he said quietly. I looked at him, my heart breaking and swelling all at once. "I know," I whispered. "Neither do I." He took my hand in his thumb tracing slow circles against my skin. "Then let's leave," he said. "Start over. Somewhere no one knows us. We can be free." The thought was tempting, intoxicating even. But reality was a cruel, unyielding thing. "I can't leave Lily," I said, my voice cracking. "She's my daughter. She needs me." He nodded, the pain flashing across his face before he could hide it. "I understand," he said softly. I just want you to know I'd do anything for you. Anything." I squeezed his hand tightly, tears blurring my vision. "I know," I whispered. "And that's what makes this so hard." We sat there for a long time, listening to the waves in the distance, to the soft rustle of the wind through the trees. Two broken hearts, trying to find a way to be whole again. We never did find a perfect solution. Our love lived in the quiet spaces between our everyday lives. In the brush of hands under the dinner table. In the fleeting smiles exchanged when no one else was watching. In the late-night texts that said everything we couldn't say aloud. It wasn't ideal. It wasn't fair. But it was real. And sometimes that was enough. Sometimes, love wasn't about grand declarations or perfect endings. Sometimes love was about surviving. Even when the world said you shouldn't. Especially then.